National Airport Authority Commission. Today is October the 28th, 2020, and it is approximately 3 p.m. And before we go into closed session, I'll ask Madam Clerk to do a roll call, please.
Yes. One moment. Okay. Please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton on the line.
Frank Navarro.
Thank you. Members from the City of Loma Linda.
Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you. Members from the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
John Round.
Thank you. Members from the City of Highland.
Penny Lilburn.
Thank you. And members from the City of San Bernardino.
John Valdivia.
Theodore Sanchez.
Thank you very much. We have quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now adjourn our session and go into closed session. Is there any public comment for closed session items?
Mayor, the public was given until 1 p.m. to submit comments via email. I received none, and there are none here in the audience today.
Thank you very much. So we'll recess into closed session.
Thank you. Please remain on the same meeting, and I will let you into the closed session breakout room momentarily.
Thank you.
Out when we all left closed session.
Okay. Hopefully everybody slowly logs back in.
This over here. Read us out of closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in closed session, as to items A, B, and C listed on closed session, we are able to report that SBIAA has resolved the litigation and settled those cases with the terms and details of those are available upon request. Those items will be dismissed in most instances with prejudice, in one instance without prejudice. And the parties are recognizing they're going to be moving forward in other areas. As to item D, there is no reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. Now I'd like to call to order the open session of the San Bernardino International Airport Authority Commission. Today is October the 28th, 2020, and it's approximately 3:25 p.m. And if I can ask our clerk to please do a roll call.
Yes, please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton on the line.
Frank Navarro,
Thank you. Members from the City of Loma Linda.
Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you.
Phil
Member-
Duper.
Oh, thank you very much, Member Duper. Member from the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
John Rao.
Thank you. Members from the City of Highland.
Kenny Goldberg.
Larry McCallum.
Thank you very much. And members from the City of San Bernardino.
Theodore Sanchez.
Thank you very much.
okay. If I could ask Councilmember Sanchez to lead us in the pledge, and if everybody could please mute their speakers, and if we could get a flag here on the screen, if you don't have one present before you. Thank you.
You guys can all look at the flag on my profile picture. Let's stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Let's pledge allegiance to this great country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Are there any items to be added or deleted to the agenda?
No items, sir.
Thank you. Conflict of interest disclosure. Anybody wishing to announce conflict of interest? All right, seeing none. Informational items is next on the agenda. Mr. Burrows, if you would, please.
Yes, Mayor, thank you very much, and Commissioners. We have a few items, I think all good news. Wanted to give you, just to kind of recap, as you saw, we attempted a new thing, and, quite carefully, a few weeks ago, at the Luxair SBD team, we really wanted to do something to say thank you to our customers for continuing to fly with us. And it was a concept that was brought to us actually by one of the stunt pilots that Epic Fuels retains. And he was actually traveling across the nation, visiting every single one of Epic's FBOs. And we were one of the last stops. And Mr. Gibbs and Ms. Bechtel and I and Ms. Mendoza were thanking him for coming out. And he was kind of lamenting the fact that we weren't able to do the air show as many others had. And so we said, well, what else can we do? He said, what about a fly-in drive-in movie? And we thought, that's a pretty cool idea. Let's see if we can figure it out. And I think we did. So on the next slide here, you'll see kind of how it looked that night. We obviously had everybody socially distanced, proper COVID protocols in place. It was, customer invite only, and ended up being a fun evening. A little bit of work on the front end to make sure we didn't miss anything, but the footprint really lent itself to, the space. And as you saw, we had to keep it aviation, so we played airplane and Top Gun, and got a lot of good feedback, and we hope to be able to kind of adapt this this framework for future events, because again, Wendy and the team have really been busy, especially lately, and it's important that we support our customers and thank them for their patronage, and I think we found a new way to do that. So stay tuned. We've asked Ms. Pritchett and the rest of the team to think up some new concepts going into the holiday season and thereafter, and just want to thank the SBD team for their support and allowing us to try something new. So happy to answer any questions, but that concludes that report.
Any comments or questions from commissioners?
Okay, moving on to the next info item. As a few of you saw, this one was a little tougher to navigate, just because of the international protocols that we had to deal with. As you all know, many of you have attended our in-person World Trade Week conference that we've done in partnership with the U.S. Commercial Service, the Department of Commerce. And this year, we were prepped to do this back in May. Obviously, with COVID, that could not happen. So we tried to do something again in the fall. In-person still wouldn't work because the plan with commerce and trade was to co-feature our partners with the Dutch Logistics Council. And leading up to literally the final hours of trying to put this virtual event on, unfortunately, our Dutch partners did see some COVID case increases, so we weren't literally sure we could pull this off. But we ultimately were able to do it. We had to move it to an early morning session, and we're able to have some good dialogue about obviously the international trade transfer and activity in the global marketplace. So, food for thought and all that, and the extended invitation for our Dutch partners to come out and visit again in person is there. My colleague Remco Berman, the CEO, is very anxious to meet all of you and thank you for your partnership. But we were able to pull it off. Good feedback from the embassy crowd, but it was really kind of a nail biter as to whether we could do it or not. But with the help of our friends over the seas, we were able to do that and have an event here in the Inland Empire again, so we don't break the streak, so they say. So that concludes that report. And then if no questions, I'll hand it over to Mr. Gibbs for some good news on the FAA front.
Thank you, Mike.
Any questions or comments on item B? All right, seeing none, Mr. Gibbs, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We're pleased to report that activity at the airport continues to increase, and it's risen to a level now that allows us to join the FAA's contract tower program. This is a program that's been around for a while. It was established in 1982, and today, of the 520 operational control towers around the United States, 256 of them are part of the federal contract tower program. What this program consists of, it's essentially the FAA contracts out its services. So essentially, back prior to 1982, all of the control towers were staffed by federal employees. And after that time, everyone who was included in the control tower program is essentially contracted by the FAA. You might wonder, we've had our own control tower. It's been staffed since November of 2008, but we did it a little bit differently. We're one of the very few right now that staffs directly for its control tower services. So we're very pleased to announce that those costs, as well as a lot of other advantages, will be part of the federal program funded by the FAA. And it should not require a change in any of our existing employees. We currently contract with the same vendor that the FAA uses throughout the Western United States, which is a company by the name of Serco. So we're not into the program just yet, but we're now eligible. So there was a moratorium on new airports entering into the program, and that took place for quite some time, beginning in 2008. And in June of 2019, the FAA began taking new applications for airports that were interested in joining the program. So they just announced, after some time, the analysis of their cost-benefit requirements, and allowed four airports exceeded those requirements, of which San Bernardino was one of them. So we're very thankful for the years that we've funded this important service ourselves, and we're also thankful to our Congressman Aguilar, who helped make sure that we were able to have a favorable outcome for this. He really helped support that process on the federal level and back in Washington, D.C. And we're excited to see this move forward. We're not in it yet, but we do anticipate, based on congressional funding levels, that we'd be able to move into the program early next year. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on this important program.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. Any comments or questions from commission members on item number C? Okay, thank you. Hearing none, we'll move on with the agenda. We have commission consent items. I present to you the consent calendar, items 3 through 9. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I move it.
Was that
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Sanchez and a second by,
I seconded Theodore Sanchez.
Rigsby
Okay, second.
motion.
who made the motion? I'm sorry.
Rigsby.
Rigsby, thank you. So a motion by Councilmember Rigsby and a second by Councilmember Sanchez to approve the consent calendar. Madam Clerk, would you please do a verbal vote?
Please state your vote for the record. Member Navarro,
Yes.
Member Rigsby,
Yes.
Member Rao,
Yes.
Member Lilburn, Member Lilburn. I think you might be on mute.
I read her lips. She said yes.
Okay. Member Valdivia. Yes. And Member Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to commission action items, item number 10. This is a receive and file item. This is Catherine Pritchett. Please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Throughout the year, agency policies and procedures are updated to maintain consistency with both day-to-day operations and federal and state regulatory requirements. In October of each year, these updates are presented to the Commission for review and discussion. During this past year, 5 of our governing policies were significantly modified. I will quickly run through these, but staff is available if you have any questions that you would like to discuss in depth. On personnel, which falls under my purview, this is a living document that's regularly updated to keep up with employment laws. This past year, we made modifications to a number of segments, including harassment, discrimination, drug testing, compensation, and modified duty. I would like to note that COVID-19 presented a number of challenges regarding personnel this year. These procedures were put in place and implemented, and they're continuously being adjusted and modified with the environment, but they are not included in this update. If you have questions specific to that, I'm happy to answer those. IT, our clerk of the board team, modernized the IT policies specifically in regard to social media and consultants' use of agency assets. And finance, under the direction of our new finance director, Mark Cousino, the SBD finance team carefully reviewed existing purchasing, investment, and accounting policies, made a number of updates which are highlighted in the overhead and redlined in your backup materials. All SBIA policies are available to staff on a shared network drive. They're prepared in preparation for onboarding new employees. When changes are made, memos are signed by the chief executive officer and disseminated in hard copy. That concludes my report. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have. This item is receive and file, but again, we are available to address any concerns.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from commissioners regarding this item? Seeing none, this is a receive and file. And we'll move on to item number 11. Let me find it here. Give me a second, please. Scrolling through this thing. Item 11, internet orders. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead for item 11, please. I don't want to hold it up.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This item is a consider and discuss for the SBD Good Neighbor Program and a report out on the latest quarter. The SBD Good Neighbor program, it's designed to inform residents and business owners about what to expect from the operational changes taking place at your airport and how those developments will benefit the community while providing two-way communication channels where they can share feedback, comments, and concerns about those operational changes. And here with us today is Rosemary Barnes. She's with Aviatrix, the specialized consultant that has assisted the airport with this data and with this communications platform. And I'd be happy to I'd be happy to pass the microphone over to Rosemary Barnes to walk us through that second quarterly report for the Good Neighbor program.
Thank you so much, Mark and Mayor Navarro and Commission and everybody else listening. Great to be with you all again. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with the slides, if you'll allow me to do so.
Are you able to see the screen right now? I can go
I
ahead.
am. Do you want to
I can go ahead.
You would like to advance the slides for me?
Yes,
That's fine
yeah,
too.
just let me know when you want me to advance.
I'm sorry, say one more time.
Oh, yes, I can go ahead and manage the slides. Just let me know when you want to advance.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, just want to, you can all hear me and see the slides, number one. Okay, good. Okay, your next slide, please. So, as Mark said, here to present 3 months later, an update on the Good Neighbor program. When Katie and I visited with you last July, we had just launched the program, and so pleased to come back and provide a program update just a few months later. Next slide, please. Okay, just to review those program components of the Good Neighbor program. Community outreach, obviously with the pandemic, we're a little limited in what we can do, but once we get beyond this situation, we'll be out there in the community a lot more, but now we're obviously focusing on technology to allow us to do so. Our website is constantly being updated with new information, explanatory videos, and information for the community about airport activities. And of course, communications reports to the board, such as I'm doing today. And I'll talk about the newsletter and the social media on following slides. Our noise comment report, actually, you can go back just a little bit, sorry, I hadn't finished there. So the noise comment report and the dedicated noise hotline are two very important tools for our community to be able to share feedback about aircraft activities and how they may be both enhancing as well as potentially impacting their lives and their lifestyles. And then we have a dedicated email for this program. Next slide, please. So what we've been up to since we last chatted, we've had been very engaged with activities, with the social media strategy that we spent some time in developing, and ongoing messaging. Those social posts very much focused on the airport and our tenants' support to the community, particularly the U.S. Forest Service air tanker base at the airport. We're going to talk a lot about wildfires in this report. The quarterly newsletter, which we launched in July, and we have just finalized the newsletter for this period, and we will publish that as early as tomorrow following this meeting. Of course, we want to get your feedback to finalize that. The National Business Aviation Association, they provided a wonderful article about the aerial tanker base during this reporting period. And when we last met in September, it was the day when the firefighters arrived from Mexico. So we've had a lot of activity, the airport as well as the media, sharing that story. And it was just a really wonderful, heartwarming story that had a lot of engagement out there in the community and the press. Highland Community News, once again, they've been so supportive. Jason, thank you for your article this month, highlighting particularly the air traffic controllers, but the many tenants and their partners at the airport that are focused stringently on safety and security, especially during this very challenging time and very busy time for the airport. And then SWAE. SWAE is the Southwest chapter of the American Association of Airport Executives. Well, they featured our airport on their webpage this month, and with their weekly alerts to their 600 members, San Bernardino Airport is being featured prominently to this membership. I know Mark's a member, a number of other team members there are, as I am too. So it's a great resource and a great organization to help tell our story. And you'll see on the right the lead in to that article. So look for yourself if you get a chance on the SWAE website. Next slide. Okay, that social media strategy. I just want to do a quick acknowledgement to Amber Casares. She's the marketing manager there at the airport. Amber works closely with Mike, Mark, the airport team, partners and tenants. You know, she's the boots on the ground. She's the one getting in early and staying out late in order to get those stories so we can share those encouraging stories about the airport and the developments. And she's up on boom trucks, getting bird's eye view of activity. She's just a joy to work with, and I've really as a team we are getting incredible results with engagement on social media, and encouraging our community members to comment about the airport and their thoughts. Those signups for the newsletter, but they're very important, and tagging our partners, posting weekly, boosting those posts at a very minimal cost. Having a lot of fun, but getting a lot of incredible results with all of our social activity. Next slide, please. And just some examples of that social activity on the left. A post we did about the fact that the Good Neighbor program website allows our community members to both learn as well as comment and return in their native language, as well as those that may have accessibility needs, that our website allows them to communicate with us and receive information from us through that widget. On the right is that the SBIAA article I mentioned, again, talking about how airports, especially in fire season, they're almost like your neighborhood firehouse. They're there to both prevent and respond when fire emergencies happen. Next slide, please. And another two posts on the left was the newsletter we launched in July, and again, we'll publish the next one this week. And then frequently asked questions. What are our community members' questions? If they have new ones that aren't quite addressed on the website, we'll add those too, because if they have that question, their neighbor may have the same one. Next slide. Okay, it bears repeating what the Good Neighbor program is and what it is not. It's a tool, it's a forum to both receive and provide information to our community. But I guess want to reiterate, the airport has no authority over the movement of aircraft, either on the ground or in flight. And this authority is exclusively vested with the Federal Aviation Administration. Next slide. Okay, let's get into the data for July through September. We'll look at totals and trends for comments and feedback, comments year to date, the comment breakdown, and the comment map. Next slide. Let's start with July. July was when our fire season started in our state. You'll recall the Apple fire started at the end of the month, and it was the first wildfire for California in 2020, culminating in the worst wildfire season in our state's history. Next slide. July, we had the highest number of noise comments for the reporting period with 35. Next slide. And here's the breakdown of the cities and by zip code on where those comments came from. Our City of Highland community members had the highest number of comments with 25 for the month, with 8 households that reported those 25 comments, and then single digits for cities of Yucaipa, Redland, San Bernardino, and Lake Arrowhead. Next slide. And here's the breakdown. The comments for July focused on the frequency of flights and flying over the home and perception of low flying, and unusually loud, and then less or so for vibration, rumbling, and sustained noise. So that's kind of the breakdown of the comments we received. The preferred filing method in July for comments were with the web form. We make it very easy for our community members to share their feedback with a very simple fillable form, which we have an automated response letting our community members know that we have their information and will respond as they prefer. So the web form was the preferred filing method in July. Let's move on to August. Well, the Apple fire continued for 3 weeks in August. And you may recall that, I believe it was a Sunday morning, August 16th, hours and hours of lightning storms, which caused major wildfires throughout our state. Some people were calling it an otherworldly storm, and I will never forget it. Moving on to the next slide for the number of comments for August. We had a little less number of comments in August. We had a total of 30 comments in August, down from what we had in July, the 35. Move on to the next slide, please. And here's the breakdown in August. Again, the city of Highland, our community members there had the highest number of comments. And then we had single digits for Bloomington, Rialto, Redlands, Wrightwood, San Bernardino, and Colton. Next slide. And here's that breakdown as far as the type of comment in August. Flying over the home, frequency of flights, that perception of low flying, unusually loud, and then time of day popped up here in August, as well as that sustained noise type of comment. And the preferred filing method in August was also the very easy to fill up, very easily filled out web form. Next slide, September. Well, September, Labor Day weekend, incredibly hot, dry, and this fire, the El Dorado, it directly impacted both San Bernardino, as you know, and Riverside counties. Next slide. But interestingly, the number of comments dropped by 2/3 in September, with only 11 noise comments. And we kind of talked about why that was. Well, I think there's a couple of reasons. Certainly, we hope and we feel the Good Neighbor program outreach is making its way into the community. We're telling our community members what's happening at the airport, why there are more aircraft operations that may be impacting them and their quality of life. But also, given the proximity of the El Dorado fire, it was right here in our community. The media were intensely focused on it. Our community members were directly impacted with visible fire, smoke, air quality, and of course, evacuations and devastation. Next slide. And here's that breakout for those 11 comments. Rialto had the high, well, Rialto and San Bernardino tied at 3, and then Highland and Redlands and Colton followed up from there. Okay, next slide. And here's the breakdown for September of those 11 comments. So, even split for flying over the home and perception of low flying activity, as well as more minimal for the unusually loud. And a little different for September, the preferred filing method was the hotline. Small amount of comments, but the majority of people called with those comments. Okay, next slide. Okay, let's get into the totals and trends. Just to comment that, interestingly, the number of comments for Q2, April and June, as well as Q3, July and September, were the exact same number of comments from our community, which I thought was interesting. And now we're going to get into year-to-date, January, September, those total and trends with the next slide. Okay, so for the 9-month reporting period, we've had 159 total noise comments, and those comments have come from 61 distinct households. It's no surprise that those community members that are most affected by aircraft overflights or noise are the most vocal. We've also noticed an increase in activity from households in the vicinity of the eastern end of the runway, where aircraft are landing runway 24. And it's important to point out, you see those very high numbers, very high number there for Highland. Know that it's a few households are responding with the majority of the comments. So a significant number, but also a large number, a number of households that are delivering those comments to the airport. Okay, next slide. People are, overall, our neighbors are concerned about that airplane's proximity to their home, and that's why they're responding to us with those comments, and some are and some are not, asking for feedback. Next slide, please. And here's that breakdown for the 9 months as well as the filing method. Next slide, please. And again, that comment breakdown and how our community members are asking for their responses. And then finally, just 2 more slides. 2 more, next way. Oh, sorry. So most of the comments are coming from the 5 to 10 miles from the airport. If you go on to the next slide, you'll see the area map and that inner circle, that 5-mile radius with the airport right in the middle, and then 10 miles, 10-mile radius, you'll see those are the majority of the comments. And just summarizing with this final slide, the state of California, we've been on fire for 2/3 of this reporting period. We're very proud of the work that our U.S. Forest Service personnel and their contractors are doing. These heroes are working around the clock to prevent and respond to fire emergencies. Certainly these noise comments are increasing as a result of that, as well as other based and transient operators. But know that the comments for San Bernardino Airport remain considerably lower than at any other airport in California. So I'm pleased to deliver this report today, and pleased to be working with you all, and Mark and I will be happy to answer any questions you may have about this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Any comments or questions from commissioners?
Looks like Member Lilburn
I
has
have
her
a
hand
couple of
raised.
questions.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
Are you talking to me, Frank?
Yes, Penny, yes.
Thank you.
We're sharing the screen, so I can't see the hands.
Okay, that's okay. I'm glad you can hear me. Before, I was trying to say something, and for some reason, my mute button, it wasn't muted, but you couldn't hear me. So I would like to maybe address something later. Rosemary, on these comments, so when they get to us on the web versus the hotline, who responds to them?
Mark, can I ask you to address that, since that happens in-house here?
You bet, of course. So Penny, we're very careful with who responds to them. Sometimes this can be a very sensitive issue. And so it's usually our airport manager, Nick Person, that responds to them. And he's in the process of training some of his operational staff to also deal with the complaints, but they are able to get back in a very timely manner to the complainants, and that's whether it comes through the web form or through the telephone. And they deal with each one of them very professionally and carve out time of their day to make sure that those are responded to.
Okay, so the same people reply to them, whether it's internet versus the hotline, correct?
Yeah, the information comes in through the phone or through a website, and that populates a database that we manage. And it's easy for us to sort through the different information when it's in one collective place.
Okay. I'm not sure about my colleagues. I get a lot of phone calls, and you know, we try to appease them and let them know and answer all their questions. I do see a lot of sometimes a lot of negative comment through Facebook. Do we proactively look for things like that? Are we tagged if we see anything, and do we have we noticed if some of those people from Facebook are the same ones that are the households that call in?
So we try to direct people, whether it's calls that come into the city of Highland or the city of San Bernardino and all the other surrounding communities as well. We try to have them leave their comments either through the phone or through the web form. Any comments that come in, please steer them toward the Good Neighbor program that's available at sbdairport.com. It's easy to get into the program from there, and it's an easy navigate to leave a noise comment, but we don't respond to noise complaints, noise concerns, or other comments through Facebook. We formalize it and we track it through the Good Neighbor program, and the database that's tied to that program allows us to categorize and better identify those concerns, which allows us to better address them.
Okay, thank you. I have seen some comments from, I will say, from a number of Facebook users that they are using the Good Neighbor program, whether good, bad, or indifferent, but they are pretty, most of them, not most of them, some of them are well aware of it. So thank you for putting that together.
Great, thank you.
Anybody else comment or question on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 12. And this is to approve a professional services agreement with Courier and Company Incorporated. Our presenter on this is Mr. Jim Harris. Mr. Harris, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, this particular item is to provide a contract with a design engineering firm that is going to design an expansion to the existing fuel farm facilities. So the first question I'm sure you might have is, what the heck is a fuel farm? So briefly, it is basically an oversized gas station that you find on any corner. The main difference is the fuel tanks on a gas station are underground. Our tank farm tanks are above ground. And then there's an issue of size. Standard gas station might have 60 to 80,000 gallons of fuel underground. Well, we have 150,000 gallons of fuel above ground. So that's the basic difference between a fuel farm and a gas station. They are suspiciously similar. What we have here at the airport is a 3-acre site just east of the FBO on Perimeter Road, just across from Sterling Avenue is where the gates are. The current system has 3 50,000 gallon storage tanks, 2 receiving stations, pumps with filters, fuel delivery stations for the 7 current SBIAA delivery trucks, and computerized data management and tank management systems. SBIAA has determined that the existing 150,000 gallon system capacity can no longer support the airport expansion the way we are currently experiencing, and will not meet the near or long-term demands for fuel. Currently, the airport fuel capacity and delivery capacity of service to FedEx and UPS flight requirements, county sheriff and operations, and the general aviation community. However, during the recently experienced wildfires, the amount of fuel that we had on hand became very short. We were still able to supply all the needs of the aircraft that were at the airport. but it was a very tenuous situation for a little while. But our fueling people and the FPO management were able to come and source the fuel for us. Regarding back in 2006, when the original fuel farm was finished, in the EIR, there was the ability for the airport to expand the capacity of that fuel farm up to 500,000 gallons. And that was kudos to the administration and the board, the commission itself, for having the foresight to be able to get the EIR to cover the next series of phase of expansion. What staff is proposing to do is we're going to install an additional 350,000 gallons of fuel storage. We're going to expand the receiving area where trucks come into the airport. We will be expanding the fuel delivery system that supplies the fuel to the tanker trucks, which will then service the aircraft. Update the computerized tank monitoring and data system. Installation of an emergency standby generator that we do not currently have the capability to support that the tank farm in case there's an electrical outage. And we're going to make sure, of course, that all construction will meet all state and federal considerations for a airport fuel farm. Staff prepared a scope of work addressing the above goals with input from airport operations staff, FBO staff, engineering staff, and airport administration. Staff then developed a request for proposal and solicited for interested engineering firms with specific fuel farm experience by each firm and the staff that they're proposing to work on the project. The solicitation was advertised in several newspapers. The clerk of the board received 3 proposals on October 8th. A team of 6 SBIAA cross-division members was used to evaluate each of the 3 engineering firms. After the firms were rated, we had discussions between the 6 team members, and staff found that Courier and Company appears to be the best fit for this particular project. The revised scope of work is attached to the information provided to the commission members that's in your packet. The schedule, Courier developed a preliminary schedule that anticipates construction completion in late 2022. In March 2021, we anticipate bringing the final construction design package to the commission to recommend bidding, with the actual bid in May, June of 2021. With a construction period of 10 to 12 months. The preliminary budget, the cost for the design engineer is $681,114 as described in your packet. The construction estimate right now is about $4 million plus or minus 15%. There will be also a need for third-party material testing, testing concrete, welds, and other items during construction, and that will be done by a third party. So the total project cost is $4.7 million plus or minus about 15%. Staff recommends the commission approve the above actions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from members? Penny, are you asking questions? I see your hand up.
Oh, you know what, Frank? That was back on the consent calendar. I'll take that down.
Thank you very much. Any other commissioners wishing to have a question or a comment on this item?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Rigsby.
My question is, what is the ROI for this kind of a project?
Payback?
Yeah, so the final construction cost is an estimate. We've seen a range on what that actual cost will be, and that's, to Jim's point, this item before you today is for engineering services as well as construction management services. But so far, the estimates that we've seen range between $2 and $4 million. We haven't gone through the value engineering process for this project just yet. So there is some wiggle room, and any construction project that would be advertised, we would come back to the board for consideration, as well as the final contract for approval. But as far as the ROI goes, we know that when the original farm was designed, that 150,000 gallons was more than enough at that time. We've gotten much, much busier in recent years, and this project is really necessary in order to meet demand and growing aircraft fleet and fuel consumption out there.
I just buttress that, Dusty, with the net income from fuel sales. If it stays on trend, should cover that cost within a given year, and we'll look at that carefully as construction goes forward. So we do keep selling fuel. Good job, Wendy, and we'll take that into the analysis when we present the construction.
Any other comments or questions?
If it has a 1-year ROI, are there any investment opportunities?
Always.
I do have not a question, but a comment. In the report, we saw the three companies or the three corporations that responded to the bid offering, but I did not see a cumulative or a separate report on what each one of them bid on the project.
Yeah,
to support staff's recommendation.
That's a great question, Mayor. The proposal that everyone responded to, cost was a factor, but because this is an engineering project, it wasn't the only factor. The rating included 20% for the total cost, but also 20% for the hourly rates, so that during negotiations of any final contract, we would have a better understanding of whether they're stacking hours or whether their hourly rates are competitive. And the good news out of this is that we had 3 really good firms bid on this, all of them qualified. We found the best value and the lowest cost through Courier and Company. And to say, I guess the other piece that's important to add to that is that the costs ranged between Courier's cost and the highest cost was $1.1 million. This one provided the best overall value and the lowest cost.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gibbs. Also, just for the record, Mr. Valdivia left the meeting. I don't know if our clerk picked up on it, but he left the meeting about maybe 10, 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
Yes, sir, the record will reflect.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I move the staff recommendation.
I have a motion by Mr. Rigsby. Chair will entertain a second.
Mr. Chair, I'll second it.
Thank you, Supervisor Rao. I have a motion by Mr. Rigsby and a second by Supervisor Rao. Madam Clerk, would you please do a verbal vote? Roll call, please.
Yes, please state your vote for the record. Member Navarro,
Yes.
Member Rigsby,
Yes.
Member Rao,
Yes.
Member Lilburn,
Yes.
Member Sanchez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 13. This is a review status of the action plan for the San Bernardino International Airport Authority, and this is Mr. Burrows. You're on.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Obviously, the month of October, like every month, I think this year particularly has been busy and full of surprises, but really want to appreciate and thank the team and you all for staying the course with us. So obviously, we did have the ability to deliver on our international trade program this month, and then stay up to date with our procedures and right on track with our financial performance and obviously evaluation. Going into November, that's normally the month where we look at the legislative calendar, particularly on the federal level. So we'll be certainly engaging on that. Thankfully, we've heard some good news from the FAA. So Mr. Gibbs has been talking with their team extensively, along with Mr. Person. So we're hoping for some positive outcomes, particularly on that front. But that's not our only, federal platform there. So we'll certainly keep you apprised going into the fall here. We will be recommending, if needed, quarterly budget adjustments. Nothing popped out to Mr. Cousino in this initial review, but we're going to make sure that we do a look back going into November in case some of the accruals come in and we might need to adjust. So stay tuned on that, but just appreciate everybody staying the course with us and keeping the lights on. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments from commissioners on Mr. Burrow's report? All right, seeing none. We have no added or deferred items, Madam Clerk?
No.
No, sir, but I do believe that Commissioner Lilburn did have a question on one of the consent items. So if it pleases the commission, I think she did want to get some clarification on that. And with the audio issue there, she was not able to chime in while the consent calendar was being considered. Was that a fair overview, Penny?
That is correct. Do I need to ask for it to come back, or can we discuss it real quick?
I'll defer to Mr. Huber, but
We can certainly discuss any questions you have real quick. It wouldn't change it wouldn't change the outcome of the vote unless that was asked to be brought back for subsequent consideration. But we can certainly talk answer questions that you may have about the item.
particularly because you weren't able to ask a question when it was under consideration. So if we could, go ahead, Penny.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure I'm asking for a change of a vote. I'm just asking more for clarification.
Sure.
What item, Penny?
Do you, Mike, can you clarify? It says each member, there was a strikeout, and it says that each allocated position who only participates when and if the primary commission member is not present. Then there's a strikeout that says with the consent of the commission president, and that's stricken, and it starts with the alternate members may attend session if the primary commission member is present. Can you clarify this? Is this saying, I'm not understanding, is it saying that?
I'm going to defer to Scott because we want to make sure the red line was clear to everybody. So if you could, Scott.
Sure. What this says, this actually says exactly, Commissioner Lilburn, exactly as you read it. Alternate members may attend, but it does outline that they do not vote on matters if the primary member is present.
Correct, but it doesn't, so this is not addressing closed session. Can an alternate member attend closed session and vote if the primary is not there?
If the primary is not there, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's what I needed. And can the alternate member attend the closed session if the primary member is there but still not vote?
Pursuant to this modification, the answer would be no.
So my alternate who's been attending all these meetings cannot attend the closed session even though he doesn't vote?
That's correct.
Was there a reason we brought this forward? I guess I'm missing something because I've been there for the last forever, and this has always been acceptable, and I'm not sure why we're changing it now, but I guess I would have to maybe bring it back or something for more clarification, or was this asked to be brought forward?
This was something that Mayor Navarro asked Mr. Huber to look into to clarify going forward, and therefore we placed it on the agenda, but certainly happy to do further reviews if the commission would like us to do that.
Okay, I'm just, I don't know if I'm just missing some underlining issues, but I appreciate the feedback. I don't know if I concur, but it's already gone forward, so I'll look at other alternatives. Thank you.
Yeah, to clarify, this really is more of a best practices, and Commissioner Lilburn, I'm happy to reach out to you and discuss it a little bit further, but this really is, as I said, a best practices sort of a policy.
You know, and I absolutely agree. I remember when I first was put on the airport, and I thought this was a policy back then, and everyone and their brother attended the closed session meetings, and so I was always one of those that said, why would we have, you know, people that aren't primary or an alternate attend these closed sessions? And then as time went on and new directors, we've been a lot better on our policy. And I appreciate that. I feel comfortable that my alternate, he is so closely engaged and involved in the airport as that if I'm not there, he always, you know, we're on the same page. And so, I get that maybe not all cities are like that, but it definitely would behoove Larry and I to be on the same page, and I know he attends because he's very interested. So if you could reach out to me, Scott, I would appreciate it.
You bet. Happy to.
Looks like Member
Okay,
Rao has
thanks.
her hand raised.
Yes, Supervisor Rao, please.
Thanks. I just wanted to offer, this is the only board that I sat on that we had something like that. And I did think it was a little bit unusual when I first joined. And typically, I know that if I'm an alternate and I don't attend a closed session as we've just proposed, that then the attorney or the staff would read me in and let me know and update me prior to the meeting to bring me up to speed. So I'm sure Scott and Mike would be happy to do that. I think
Yeah.
that that's more of the standard practice, as Scott said.
And
So
if I might, Supervisor, just echo that the intent here is not to exclude any commissioner from participation in the open meetings whatsoever. We want all the information out there, and if any of you know that if ever you've got any questions or information, or you want more detail at any point in time, you don't have to wait for a meeting. You can reach out and we'll get you whatever you want when you want it. So just understand, we appreciate all of you and your commitment to this airport, and that is the intent, is to make sure that, you know, October's our month to look at all the procedures and all that. And Frank said, hey, you know, what about this one? Can you clarify? And that's how we got here. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and the reason that I brought that forward, if I can chime in, is that at all our other organizations that we sit on, we have alternates, and none of those alternates are in closed session at those meetings. They are in open session. They can attend the open session, but the closed session is reserved for the primary. And the event that the primary is not there, then the alternate steps in and takes that position for that one meeting. And if we are the primary person and we are attending all our meetings, then it's our kind of responsibility to keep our alternate apprised of what's going on at the meeting, so that in the event that the primary is not there, the alternate can step in with a good knowledge base to proceed and take the votes necessary, whichever way it's going to go, based on his or her conversation with the alternate. So it's just a matter of best practices. I think it kind of takes away any perception of Brown Act violations also, I believe, and that's why I brought it forward. So
I got you. I appreciate that.
yeah, thank you very much. Anything else for anybody? Okay, well, Commissioner comments, if you would, please. Anybody? Okay.
I know we talked about, this is Dawn, I know we talked about the fly-in movie night, but we kind of, I just wanted to thank the staff for being so creative. I wished I could have attended. I look forward to more of these in the future. It is a great way to gather people safely. So thank you for all your efforts on that.
No, and thank you to the commission. Mr. Gibbs and I particularly were a little nervous going into that night, and we sent you a couple of links as to why. So enjoy that at your leisure.
Like I said, look out on the 31st. Anyway, yeah, again, myself also, I'm going to chime in and echo the supervisor's comments regarding the fly-in movie. You know, I couldn't attend myself because I had other things to attend to in my home. As you know, we have health issues in my home, so I could not make it. But anyway, thank you, staff, for a job well done. Thank you for today's presentations. Thank you for the detail. Rosemary, thanks for the report. And There being no other business to attend to for this commission?
Public comment?
Yes, please.
There is no public comment. I did not receive any emails prior to 1 p.m., and there are no comments here in the audience.
Thank you for bringing that up. I was remiss on that.
No worries.
That was there on my agenda. Thank you. Okay, there being no other business to attend to for this commission, our meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a nice evening. Enjoy the rest of your week and your upcoming weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.